guys, welcome to my little paintbrush. My name is Miss Cami and I am so excited for today's painting. We are getting some inspiration from Disney and painting one of my favorite princesses, Pocahontas. Just a quick reminder before we start, please feel free to pause, rewind, fast forward this video. You don't have to paint the same speed that I do, so if you need to switch that up a little bit, go ahead and do it. That's one of the perks to painting in the comfort of your own home. Also, I just want to remind you to be kind to yourself while we're painting. Yours may not end up looking exactly like mine, but that is what makes art so amazing. We all have something different in the end. Also, we are gathering our inspiration from obviously a very popular character in the Disney world, but make this your own as much as you would like to. If you feel inspired to go a certain direction, do it. All right, let's dive right in. I'm going to grab a medium flat brush and get it wet in some water. And we're going to begin with our background, which is a really pretty light pink. So I'm going to use red and white to do that. Obviously, we're going to focus more in the white and not so much red because we're going to want this super light color. Okay, so you can mix that, of course, until you've got the shade that you want. Just keep in mind it dries a bit darker on your canvas. And of course, if you're working with our paint kit, you have a variety of colors that you can use. So you can spice that up however you want and do a different color background if you so choose. All right, so we're just going to begin putting this in. And I want to encourage you, if you're painting on a stretched canvas, to go ahead and wrap the edges of your canvas so that when you're finished, you have a nice completed piece and your edges are all finished and your painting is ready to be displayed. Now, if you happen to go out or go in rather to your hair or some of your leaves, depending on what you're working with here, don't let that stress you out too much. Just do your best to go around these and we will clean up anything as needed. But especially don't worry about the hair because it is, of course, a beautiful black hair. And so we can cover anything that ends up going in there. We can cover that right up with black. So we're just going to do the best we can. Just like that. Also, as a reminder, your paint gets thirsty and you will need to continue to add water to it. So anytime you feel like your paint is really thick and almost a glue-like consistency, go ahead and add water to your paint. Mix that water in and that will help. The leaves I've got traced in here are basically for my own reference. When I go to paint, you know, the leaves that are blowing in the wind around her. And so if I kind of paint into those a little bit, that's okay, especially because they're all going to be warm tones or complements of pink. Hope I got some in her hair as we were talking about it. So it's not going to be a huge problem to fix if we get any in her hair or her leaves. The area you want to be most careful around is her skin. And you can see I kind of press my bristles so they fan out. And this helps me get a nice clean line. Okay, wonderful. We've got that in. It's a pretty easy background. Before I wash my brush, I'm going to scoop some white up on one corner of it, and I just want to lighten the area closest to Pocahontas a bit. I like to do this because for a few reasons. It draws the viewer's attention to the main subject. It adds some variety into our background, so it's not so flat. And it almost makes our subject look like it's glowing a bit, and I like that. I like to play on that a little bit. So just continue to load some white on one corner of your brush, and then you can kind of blend that into your background. But it'll just brighten up the areas closest to Pocahontas. And I like to do that. I think that it's really pretty and adds quite a bit. We do this particular step a lot in our studio. There we go. Fabulous. Our background is in and looking so good. I'm going to wash my brush and we're going to go to Pocahontas's beautiful skin tone. So I've got a few colors to work with here. I'm going to work with my browns and this peachy color first. I'm going to just kind of mix those together. You really can be the determining factor here of how far you go into your darker tones and your lighter tones. Of course, you have some orange if you want to pull that in. I am going to pull in some white. Not so much that I want to lighten the skin tone, but I want it to have good coverage on the canvas, and it's going to need some white for that. Okay, so we're going to mix those together, and as soon as you feel like you've got what you want here, you can start to fill in Pocahontas. Okay, and this particular paint sometimes may need multiple layers, so we can come back to it if we need to. And of course you can do that at any point in time. A lot of the need for layers has to do with the load on our brush and how familiar we are with that. So if you feel like any time during your painting you need some more layers, you can pause this video and you can do that. Okay, so we're just going to continue. We're going to work around her eyes for sure because they'll be white, but if you can get away with painting over the eyebrow and still seeing it, I suggest you do that just for the sake of time. And you should be able to still see that. So if you can do that, then I would suggest it. Of course, the lips we'll want to try and go around as well. But again, if you get paint in these areas, it's okay. We will be doing lots of cleanup work, so that is okay. Come up. She's got pretty distinct chin that we want to celebrate here. Okay. And then coming up here. Now, if you need to switch your brush at any point to get into some of these smaller areas, feel free to do that. I'm going to stick with my flat, but you can switch that up if you need to. Okay, we'll come over to this arm here and curve it down. Of course, we have these little areas in there. So again, you can switch up your brush, or you can just let sort of some of the messy happen until we get to our cleanup steps, where we will address all the paint that kind of gets where it's not supposed to go. Focus here on her top. Try and go around her necklace as best as I can as well. Here we go. Of course, because it's white and I want to celebrate that white as well. Okay. It's just tedious work going around all of these details here. All right, so first layer of that is in. Let's give our brush a nice wash. I just love to watch how these paintings come together. It's super fun for me. All right, we're gonna come over and grab a little bit of gold and some white and mix those together. I want a really light color for her dress here. We're playing on the yellows, super, super deep. Okay. Come in here and we'll fill that in. Of course, her arm is right there. Okay, if you are wrapping your canvas, which again, I suggest you do, then go ahead and flip your canvas over and wrap the bottom of it in this color. All right, as we come over to the sleeve, of course, we're going to have half of it is going to be that white frayed area. And so I want to keep half of it white if I can. And it kind of starts, and I guess it would be less than half here. And just kind of fill that in as you see fit, just like so. Okay, now before I wash that pretty yellow out of my brush, I'm going to dip a corner of my brush into the darker gold color and just take that darker edge around my dress here and give it some distinct dark tones here. So you see, I just use that dark edge. You can go over it a few times to blend it in well. And I'll come and go up my sleeve here. Don't have too much of a panic with how perfect this is, because we're going to have a lot of leaves just kind of flowing everywhere. So don't spend a lot of time concerned with perfection right now. As we start to put everything in, a lot of this stuff won't be seen so much. Okay, I'm going to go right into another layer of my skin, and I just added a bit of white. I obviously want to keep with that beautiful dark tone, but I don't want to get too dark with another layer, and so I'm going to lighten it just slightly before I... Now this second layer, you might lose some of your lines, your eyebrow, so I'm going to just be a little more careful to not completely lose that. Being careful as I go around all these features. course, the eye, want to stay on those. All right, then coming down here, again, the second layer you can put in a bit more quickly because you don't necessarily have to pay as much attention. You're just kind of filling in the main gist of the space here. Okay. Just making sure it's nice and filled in. And we've got some evenness to it. Wonderful. Okay, let's add a bit of a shadow around her by dipping the corner of our brush into that dark brown. Okay, and let's go ahead and start up in face area. And I'm going to take this edge all the way around Pocahontas. Now, as your paint dries out, you'll want to use your water so that you can get that nice blend without your stroke breaking too soon on you. Now, I'm doing this step before I do her hair on purpose because I know that when I go in to do her hair, her black hair will be a nice chance for me to clean up anything I need to. So if you have those broken stroke marks or anything close to her hair, don't worry about those. Okay, so just doesn't have to be exactly the same blend all the way around. What you're going for is just to have a darker edge around Pocahontas. Okay, that's what you're going for here. And then we're gonna get into that chin and jaw. We want to make that a nice distinct area here. Okay, it'll look a little funky until our skin tone begins to dry a bit, so don't feel too overwhelmed by that quite yet. Again, the story of the night, I guess, is let things happen and then go back to them. Don't quite judge your piece yet. All right, come down shoulder here. Anytime you need to go back to your skin color and blend something in, you can do that. Sometimes we get clumps of paint happening. That just is part of it. We're going to shadow underneath her necklace here. So I'm going to take that dark edge underneath, and again blending that in any chance that I can here. Okay, so when you load your brush, just go for a bit of that skin tone again and a little bit of brown. Just work your paint over and over here. And then we've got this little arm. Comes down right there. All right, let's give a little shadow indication along here, and then we'll clean that up when we go to paint in there. Okay, that looks good. I think we've got her all filled in there. So let's wash that out really good. And let's go ahead and jump into her hair. So I continue to use my flat. I'm going to loosen up my black paint with some water on my brush here. And again, this is a great opportunity to just clean anything up along her face, along your background that you want to. I like to start in the areas furthest away from where I need to slow down. So I know I can kind of just really get in this hair and fill it in before I'll need to slow down by her face. So use your water if your paint's feeling thick. And here we go along here, just a nice smooth line. You can see it just cleans it right up. It's the beauty of black paint. Okay. And we'll go around this leaf best we can. The other ones we'll shape in here in a minute with some white paint first so that it can be seen, that background. Remember to wrap your canvas as you go. So it would need to be wrapped with this black here as you're going around it. This step is so fun for me because I really get to see a lot of this scene coming together. All right. Let's come up here. Okay, so when we get close to her face, this is when it's really important to slow our stroke down so that we don't lose this face. So nice and easy. And of course, cleaning it up as we go. Okay, looking so pretty. Again, if you need to switch to a smaller brush for any of these steps, just stay true to yourself here. Don't feel like you have to stick with this large brush. Don't try and overdo something if you're more comfortable in a certain place. All right, almost done with her hair. Let's come over here. Same thing, I'm just slowing down a bit so that I don't mess up my face. If you are in the position to flip your canvas or anything like that, do it. I typically turn my canvas around a lot as I'm painting. It's a little bit different when I'm recording, but if there's an area of your painting that you're struggling to reach, you can totally flip your canvas around to get it. All right, I'm debating here whether to attempt this. I might get a smaller brush for that section. I don't want to ruin that. And then I might switch real quick to a smaller brush for that as well. I really want some clean lines because there is such a distinction between her hair color and her skin color. I want to make sure that it's a nice clean line and not mess that up. So I'm switched to a detail brush for that. To get in these little areas and make sure they're nice and clean. Since I have my detail brush with me, I'm just going to go ahead and put the eyebrows in too. This one's pretty easy because it just comes right into her hair. So you don't have to think much about that one. Okay, and then this other one, we'll want to make sure we have a nice little brush. Come up in there and shape in that brow. Okay, going to square it off a bit right there. Okay, awesome. All right, you guys. Wash that brush out. I'm going to go back to my medium flat and I'm going to put in some highlights in her hair. So I'm going to load with black, put some white on my brush, and then of course her hair is blowing in the wind, so we're going to play off of that. Right here we're going to have this piece going right here, and then I'm just going to add some wind-blown hair in here. Right there. You can go as white here as you want or as dark. Down here we're just going to follow this line, shape of her hair as it comes down. If you do get in a situation where you've done too much white, you can of course go back with some black. It's pretty easy to fix that particular problem with this painting, having all this black in it. Awesome. Come over here. I'm just going to kind of follow this around as well. Bring that stroke in a bit. And down here. And then we'll follow that line up. I think what I want to do is come and cover this one up and bring that line a little closer to her part. So I'm going to put that one in there. And of course you can blend those in more or less. And there we go. We've got those highlights in her hair, and you can see kind of the wind happening. Let's grab a detail and get that little black hair that loops around. I totally forgot about this. So we'll just take our detail brush here and fill that in. She's looking beautiful. All right, you guys, let's get our brushes nice and clean. Wash them super, super good because we've got that black in there. So we need some clean brushes. Let's go to her beautiful necklace. Let's put the turquoise in. I want to lighten the turquoise a bit. So I pull over some white, mix that in there. Okay, and then go ahead and fill that in. Make sure, I'm going to wash my brush again. I saw a little bit of black in it. You just want to double check on that. Okay, we'll just come down here and we'll fill this in. Of course, this is another very distinct feature here of Pocahontas. She wears this necklace that her dad gave her, which her mom wore on their wedding, if I can remember my story correctly. Again, we're doing our best around all of these leaves, but we're remembering that a lot more is going to happen on this princess, so being aware of that. Before I wash that out, I'll add some turquoise and of course bring a nice shadow around this necklace here. Just going to have a few other details in it as we go along. Wonderful. Okay, let's wash our brush out. And let's go to our white and just clean this little area of our dress up anywhere it needs it. Got some of our skin tone in some of those sections, and then just add a little bit of that yellow that we did on her other sections of her dress, and we're just going to pull that in and then kind of do the same thing around her little shreds, I guess you would call them. Her dress is shredding a bit. And this doesn't have to be perfect, you're just indicating some values in there. Okay, wonderful. Oh, she's looking so good. All right, let's switch to our detail brush now and put in the black circles of her eyes. So this first one is going to be over here and again go mostly into her hair. So that makes it quite easy. The plate's getting kind of heavy with all this paint on it. And then this one over here, we're going to shape that in. And as we come around here, we're just going to allow that circle to play out and kind of shape into itself a little bit. Okay. So kind of allowing the circle to pop out right there. All right. Now we're going to take that brush and kind of give her some eyeliner. So let's just follow the shape here of these eyes, just like so. Okay, and we'll loosen up our paint, make sure it's not too thick. We'll do the same thing on the other side. We just want this top one kind of end a little curve like that. And then the bottom one will be a little bit thinner. Just like so, which is all about pressure. It's all about the pressure on your brush. All right, let's wash that out. Really good because it's got that black paint in it. Let's go to our red and put in some red lips here. Just follow our shape. Got those teeth there, and you're welcome to add some white in there if you feel like you've kind of gotten a little messy. That's okay. Otherwise, we'll just go around it. And you're welcome, if you feel like your red is too bright, you can add a little bit of brown to it, or black even. If you're really careful, it'll go a little bit purple on you, so I would suggest using the brown if you want to have a little bit deeper red for her lips. Okay, she looks so pretty. Wash that out. All right, let's go into our turquoise and add some details on our pretty necklace here. We're just going to shape in a couple of just literally different shapes here, almost like parentheses on this necklace. Maybe point it a little bit as you go around. Okay, right there. We'll do the same thing on this other side. Just some little distinctions here. Details in her necklace. And then right here we're going to put a deep, it's kind of like an oval, but it comes down to a point here. We'll shape that in. Maybe if you lose some of it along here, you can, here we go. Make it a little more distinct. Just kind of blend that in. Get that shadow back in there. We'll come through and highlight this in a second. Okay, nicely done. Let's go to a smaller detail. Let's see. This one right here, I'm going to get it wet, get in some white paint, just kind of swish it around, and come to my, I always thought of this as an arrowhead, but could be wrong. I added just the tiniest bit of black to that brush, and I'm going to kind of shadow in, just like we've been doing the whole time, around this necklace here. Get up against the edge as much as I can. It's kind of tricky. Okay, and then I'll just, with the tiniest bit of black, I might just switch to my detail. I think that's what I'll do. I'll put in with my detail brush just a little indication there. And maybe we'll just darken this edge up a little bit too. Help it stand out. Wonderful. Washing my brush again. Lots of swishing around. Let's go to our white here. And let's add some highlight to her necklace here. Just like that, just highlighting it up a little bit. All right, I'm gonna make sure my medium flat brush is nice and clean so I can highlight some of Pocahontas, okay? So I've got a nice, clean, damp brush. And I'm gonna dip it in some white and kind of brush some of it off so it's not too strong. And then I'm gonna kind of come in here and brush in some highlights. And you don't want to have a whiteout situation. I say that all the time, but white can take away just like black can sometimes. So you're just kind of giving her a little bit. You're not going too strong here on it. Just a little bit here and there. Awesome. Okay, let's go to our detail brush and get into some brown paint and add her little nose and a little detail in her ear. So I'll loosen up that brown paint with my detail brush. Get it nice and loose. Then I'll come over to this ear. I'll just do a little shape there. Now the nose is very teeny tiny, just hardly anything there. We're gonna do this nostril. It's just gonna kind of curve into the center. And then this one will curve out. That's it, you guys. That's all you're gonna do with her little nose. And you don't want to play too much with it or it's going to get a little bit crazy. Okay, so there we go with that. Looking good. Let's work on our leaves, okay? First thing I'm going to do is make sure I have a nice clean brush and I'm going to shape all of my leaves in with white. Okay, so I'm going to come through. We've got some that are already in, but we're going to add a few more. And you can do this wherever you want, or you can follow right along with me. We're just going to have fun with this and shape these in however we want. And we're going to keep in mind that these are blowing in the wind. So we want to indicate that as much as possible. And we don't want to have any cookie cutter leaves that look exactly the same. We want to switch them up. We want some big ones. We want some little ones. We want some curving in different directions. We want all the leaves to be different. And of course they can fall on her however you would like. And don't have to worry about covering things up because that's kind of the idea, right? These are in the foreground. All right. Right here. So these are going to be my deep pink and my purple leaves. The ones that are already shaped in will be orange. So, of course, you can switch that up with what you've got available to you as well. keep it going. We're going to have a big one here. I like to throw in a big one. Okay, and then one more that's just going off the page there. Okay, so while I've got some white on my brush, I'm just going to come over and highlight her lips. I just want to put a little white up there, and I might come back to my red and make it a little pinker. I don't want my highlight to take over, but I do want to add it in there. Of course, you can go back to your red and kind of blend that a little bit. Maybe a little more white. It's tricky to highlight such a tiny area. Here we go. She's looking fantastic, guys. All right, gonna wash my brush, and let's go ahead and fill in all of our orange leaves. So here I've got my orange paint. I'm gonna add a little bit of white to it, brighten it up, because I know it will dry a little bit darker on my canvas. And I'm just gonna use my detail brush to just begin shaping in these leaves. Just having fun with it. And with each leaf, before I leave it, and while it's wet, I'm gonna highlight it a bit. Okay, so I'm gonna do that each time before I move on to another leaf. I'm gonna take the time to kind of come through and highlight it and blend that highlight in to that leaf. Okay, so we're going to do that with each leaf. Like I said, the orange, I've chose the orange ones to be the ones that were already traced out for me. And you can do the same or switch it up to something different. And then some white before I move on. Okay. Come down here to this one. These curvy ones will take the most time to kind of shape those in, but they're so fun. You don't have to wash the white off of your brush in between these leaves. It'll just kind of offload naturally, so you can just let that happen. A little bit of white. Again, if you get too much white, just keep blending. Will make a difference though if you have a bit of a highlight on each leaf. Okay, let's come over to this one. I like how this one's kind of just, let me see half of it. Right, a little bit of white. Yeah, we'll just keep going. Of course, this scene is so iconic in the movie, as the leaves are always kind of blowing around her and she's listening to the wind. So we got to get all those leaves in here. Just filling it in, adding my highlight. Just about there with the orange ones. Let's give this one some love here. Of course, you could do turquoise leaves, and you can do more purples, more pinks. This was just my choice, and that's where I say you should kind of go with your own inspiration. If you have it, totally go with it. All right. Beautiful. Okay, that is done. Wash our brush. And let's move on to our red, our deep pink ones. I'm going to just pull in some brown and really kind of play on a more maroon type. Like I said, you could use this color for her lips if you prefer. Just get a nice deep pink. And I just kind of picked every other-ish one to do this color. And again, before I move on, I'll go to my white and I'll give it a nice bit of light. Okay, and then just keep going. This one here, go into my white. That one grew a little bit. Sometimes that happens. And this one right here. Okay, keep on going. Come down to this one. Some white. Okay, hang in there, guys. This is the part of the painting when you just really start to get tired. And of course, if you're feeling super tired, you have the awesome ability to come back to it. Just pause and come back to it. I always say, don't rush yourself. It's much better to come back to a painting than to feel rushed and not happy with it. So definitely do that if you're feeling it about now. However, we are on the home stretch here. Okay, so we've got those two different colors in. Now we're going to make some purple by pulling some turquoise over here and mixing it with our red. And I kind of stayed over in my pink background from earlier, but this turquoise and red makes a really beautiful purple. You can see that. I just love this purple. So I'm going to use that to fill in the rest of my big leaves, and then we'll just do a bunch of little accents throughout. Highlight it as we go. Some white. This one right here. It's got kind of a banana shape to it. Some white to it, highlight it. Very important. Of course, when leaves are falling, all kinds of directions. So what's kind of fun about this is you can play off of that a lot. There we go with this one. Little white highlight in there. And just a few more purple. Really liked the cool tone of the purple in with all these warm tones. That was fun to add in there. Last one is coming off the page right here. Okay, now that we have our leaves in there, our main leaves, we're just gonna add a few little fillers. So I'm gonna take my purple and I'm just going to kind of add these little dashes going in different directions here. And we'll come and fill in some space. Just like so. And be super random about this. Don't create any kind of pattern as you're going. You want it to look like they're floating and falling and all that. Okay, wash that out. And we're going to add some in pink as well, this deep maroon color. Add some white to it so it'll show up a little bit with the black that we've got. And again, I'm just going to kind of put these in randomly. They can be almost like lines in places. The wind is blowing, so we're playing off of that idea. Okay, you see that little curve we got going. Wash out my brush. Now for some orange, I'm just going to use the bottom of my brush like a stamp. I'm just going to dot some in. And again, just fillers as this is blowing all kinds of things. In the movie, there's a lot of things blowing in the wind around her, so we're just going to play off of that. The last thing we're going to add are some white dots, okay? Just to brighten that up. So I'll turn my brush over and fill in some white. And this really helps brighten up all of that. So this white is pretty important for the overall look here. So we'll just kind of add those in as you would like. The more paint you've got on the bottom of your brush, the bigger the dot will be. And put some in black hair. Just like so. Okay, while we've got that white on the bottom of our brush, let's highlight our eye. So we're gonna dot right there and right here. Guys, this is amazing. Let's sign our name. Flip my brush over here and get some black. This painting is so fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to see your masterpieces, so send them our way, tag us on social media. I hope you love your Pocahontas, and I can't wait to paint with you again. Bye-bye, guys.